This is the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
Welcome inside the RebZone. Kevin Bulliter alongside Running Rebels head coach Marvin Menzies. A split of the week, but I think a step forward, too, in terms of last night, even though it was a loss against San Diego State, that the team kind of went toe-to-toe, and that was a tournament-type ending of that game.
It was actually a tournament-type feel in the second half. The first half, I thought we were a little sluggish. Shot selection was bad to start the game. I thought we were better after I watched the film this morning. We were better defensively than I thought in the first half. And then as we got going into the second half, we made a few adjustments at halftime. I felt like the guys did a really good job taking them out of their sets and defended McDaniels a lot better. Watson was good, and Shackle came in and knocked down those 3 threes off the bench, and that hurt us. And then we just had a couple gambles that kind of put us in harm's way in the second half. So, but overall, after you get through that initial sting of a loss, and then you go back and you go, man, we got better, and that's what it's all about right now.
And the atmosphere was electric at Thomas and Mack last night.
It was really, really fun, and it was good to see the crowd behind us and pulling for the guys. It's just really you get little nuggets every once in a while through whatever it might be, and that was one of those moments where you go, man, I can't wait. I can't wait till we get this thing rolling. And I'm feeling like even the end of this season is I feel good about the progress that the guys are making in the practice. And they were hurting last night because they knew that they were prepared, but they just didn't make shots and didn't execute as well as they could have.
Well, let's start our look back at the week with Saturday night's game against San Diego State. A slow start by both teams turned into a nail-biter at the end.
A rivalry renewed as San Diego State and the Running Rebels squared off at the Thomas and Mack. Both teams struggled shooting in the first 9 minutes as they combined for 9 turnovers and shot under 20%. Joel Tomboy hit a 3 to tie it up at 10, and the Aztecs followed with an 8-0 run capped by this 3 by Jordan Shackle. Amari Hardy stopped the bleeding as he ducks under his man for 2. Then Noah Robotham leads Chris Clyburn with the bounce pass for the lay-in. But Jalen McDaniels knocked down this turnaround late, and San Diego led 31-23 at the half. The Rebels made the adjustments and shut McDaniels down in the second half and fought their way back in it. The lob inside to Mbake Jong for the lay-in. And that's when Robotham caught fire, hitting 3 after 3. 4 of them in a 3.5-minute stretch to tie the game up at 45 with 7:35 left. Hardy hit 2 free throws with 6:40 to go to give UNLV its first lead since 5-4. It was trading punches the rest of the way. Clyburn knives through the Aztecs to the rim. Asuk Arap gets the hoop and the harm at the other end. Here's the key play. 90 seconds to go. San Diego looks like they're going to call timeout, but they pass it to Matt Mitchell in the corner, and Jong fouls him on a 3-point attempt. That turned a 1-point Rebel lead into a 2-point deficit. Hardy hit 1 of 2 free throws to cut it to 1, but on the next Rebel possession with the same score, he steps out of bounds, forcing UNLV to foul McDaniels with 10.7 seconds left. McDaniels missed both free throws, and the Rebels had the ball down 1. Nick Blair gets a good look at the buzzer, but it won't go and rims out. UNLV comes up just short, dropping a heartbreaker to the Aztecs, 60-59.
They're a really good defensive team, and when they're stabbing at the ball, it's really tough to score on them. But if you could spread them out by making shots, they kind of have to be stuck on their man a little bit more. It really just speaks to the growth of this team. And I thought our defensive effort was great. I thought offensively in the first half, we didn't move the ball well. We had 2 assists and 9 turnovers, which is very uncharacteristic of this team. So we kind of showed that up in the second half and just focused on the defensive end. We put ourselves in the position to win the game.
All right, so let's start at the end with that final play. And I know usually you want to do a fire-type play, and it was a little slow to develop off the rebound of the missed free throw.
Right.
But you still end up getting a great look from Nick Blair.
Yeah, we did. There was still a little miscommunication. We wanted to get something going to the basket, but McDaniel did a really good job of getting in the gaps, and that's why Nick was so wide open. But after I watched the film, they did a great job of taking away the drive. We didn't get in the call. Let me give you the scenario. If he makes both of them, we're down 3. So we have a call in for a 3-point shot. And that was the initial call that was in. Then after he missed the first one, okay, so now the scenario changed. You only need 2 points. And then he missed the second. The scenario's still the same, because once you only need 2, then you have another play. And we had miscommunication on what we wanted to do initially against the 2. And that's what carried over into Amari getting downhill a little bit. It got taken away, the gap. McDaniel did a great job, and then we kicked it over. And we still had a pretty good look from a kid who can shoot the ball pretty decent, and it just didn't go down.
Let's go back to the beginning of the game now, and it was a struggle for both teams out of the gate. Just one of those rough opening 10 minutes. I guess just got to keep shooting the ball, keep running the offense type of thing for both sides or something like that. Because we did seem to get into a better flow when we got to the second half.
You know, it was like we talked about that last possession, and people always remember the last possession. But I thought the 3-point shot where we fouled, where Mbake fouled, I thought we could have done a little bit better job at the free throw line. I thought there was a couple things that we did defensively in the first half. Defensive transition, we lost some guys. So it's never one possession or one play. It's a collection of things that you have to do a little bit better next time you get out on the floor, especially against the same team. So, but I did feel like our offense struggled, not just with shot selection, but with their length and the way they stabbed at the ball, as Noah mentioned. They did a good job, and they're one of the top defensive teams in conference right now. They're playing great basketball, coming off of beating Reno, and we just need to make sure that the things that we showed them in film have to translate onto the court. And they did the second half, and we kind of settled them down, reminded them how we're going to score against these guys, and I think we scored 36 or something like that in the second half.
Well, one of the main adjustments you made came defensively on Jalen McDaniels, and that really turned the tide of the game. Especially when Nick Blair came in about 7 minutes in, I think it was, did a great job of shutting him down and allowed you guys back in.
Yeah, we did kind of what they did. We got into gaps on him. We had heavy support. He saw a crowd. When he had the ball, it wasn't like an ISO situation where he's just hard to stop in an isolation. So Nick had the hands high, and he was very technically correct in terms of how to handle his defensive principles guarding McDaniel, but then the support was also there as well. I mean, we had one clip I was watching this morning where Trey's guarding Shackle, I believe is how you pronounce it, and he's all the way at the midline supporting Nick, even though he's on a 3-point shooter, a knockdown 3-point shooter. But if that pass is made, then he's got to get there. He's got to be at 2 places at once. But that kind of spacing, I thought, did a really good job on them.
Well, let's go to Wednesday or Tuesday night, actually, where the Runnin' Rebels traveled to Laramie. They took care of business on the road in Marvin Menzies' 400th game as a head coach.
Another road game with no crowd and no atmosphere, but UNLV got out to a quick start to feed their own mojo. Chris Clyburn drives baseline for the reverse lay-in. Then Clyburn with the steal, and he heads the other way for 2. Watch the great ball movement as they finish it off with Amari Hardy feeding Mbake Jong for the dunk as the Rebels had an early 10-0 run. Jonathan Chama-Chachua works down low for the bucket, and the entry pass to Nick Blair as everyone was getting in on the action. Wyoming would push back. Las Vegas product A.J. Banks with the acrobatic reverse lay-in. Then Justin James gets the slam and the slap. The UNLV would end the half on a 7-0 run, capped by this 3 by Noah Robotham, and the Rebs led 30-23 at the break. UNLV kept the pressure on in the second. Off the Wyoming turnover, transition, and the pass to Clyburn in the corner for the 3. Then Joel Tombwe gets 2 in the lane, and Robotham hit a jumper to give UNLV a double-digit lead. Wyoming would rally back. The alley-oop to Banks. James with the big-time slam. And then James gets the bucket of the bump to pull the Cowboys within 2. UNLV would outscore the Cowboys 11-3 from there, with the dagger coming from Robotham, locking it up with this 3. The Rebels go on the road once again, and they win it 66-56.
It kind of shows the growth of this.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the beginning of the game, because both teams were very deliberate and almost played into UNLV hands, I think. Shots weren't coming. The offense wasn't triggered till under 10 seconds. And at elevation, I thought that really played into your guys' hands to have that nice slow pace so guys weren't going to get tired at the end.
We talked about that as a staff, and we felt like, you always overanalyze everything as a coach. Oh, what if this? Okay, here's the plan B. If that happens, here's the plan B. So what we did was we said we're going to really look at the pace of play, and we're going to stay in touch with our guys in terms of a high level of communication throughout the game. Do you need a quick one? Are you good? And we were able to play the rotation that we wanted throughout because of that.
The offensive output, really the ball movement was triggering everything. Great ball movement in this game in terms of getting the ball around the horn and getting guys open looks.
It was better. We still have those moments where we get, it's not selfish, but the me shots of guys just wanting to, put that possession on their back and help the team. And it's just not great basketball, as we talked about several times. You've got to be able to move that ball and have your feet ready, be shot ready, palm to pass or fingertips, and just be ready to really just line it up and knock it down. If you don't have that, you got to keep it hot, and you got to move bodies, and you got to move the ball. And that's something that we're still trying to figure out. We did a better job last night in the second half, struggled with that same component the first half.
Well, time for us to take our first break, but it is on to the next one. When we come back, a look at the week ahead, including Wednesday's big showdown in Reno against the Wolfpack. What is it going to take to go up north and pull off the upset like they did last year? We're going to ask Coach Menzies next.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
All right, Wednesday night, it is up to Reno for a game against the Wolfpack. The rivalry game, always a big deal. What has to happen differently than what we saw with Thomas and Mack to get you guys in this one and a chance to get a W?
Well, we got to come out and play the first half. It's been one of our challenges for several games. It's just not having the right type of grit, that first half. It's kind of like we're too cerebral. We got to play a little hungrier, a little more passionate, and not just on the defensive side, but we've got to play smarter on the offensive side. I think that's been the other problem too. You know how it is in basketball. If you make a few shots, then say, okay, then you're off to a good start. Well, that's true. However, your defense has to be shored up as well. So, combination, both sides of the ball. I do feel like defensively we'll start with intensity up there, and I do feel like we're learning on the offensive end still on shot selection. So if we can do a good job there, just making sure it's high quality shots, and you don't feel as bad even if you miss a shot. Oh, that was a good look, right? So it's going to take us to get off to a good start defensively more than anything.
We know the atmosphere is going to be rocking up there. The last two road games that the Rebels have played have been very quiet, low-attended games. It's going to be sold out. We know that the people up north are invested into the rivalry. Are they prepared for maybe the most hostile environment that they're going to go into all season?
You really don't know. We got a lot of guys that have never played in that environment. We've had hostile environments this season, but nothing like what they're going to see. New Mexico was packed and crazy, but you're just not. It's hard to prepare that or replicate that. So you can talk about it a little bit, but I think it really comes back down to those guys on the floor, those guys referencing us on the floor, being connected with each other, talking to each other, getting us through a bad moment, a mistake, a bad call, and supporting each other on the floor.
You won up there last year. A lot of that was because of JoJo and Shakur also had big games. They're not there. A lot of these guys weren't there last year. How do you feed off of a win up there last year when you have guys that weren't here? And B, who do you pick your poison with in terms of stopping? Because the Martin twins get the attention. Jordan Caroline's been a killer for the Rebels.
Yeah. You know, and Caleb didn't play, and in all fairness to them, Caleb didn't play that game that we won up there either. You know, they have multiple weapons. So you've got to know your personnel, and you got to understand tendencies, and you got to understand how to minimize what their strengths are. So it'll be a big personnel game, I think. And then you just got to man up, and you take care of guarding the ball and making them take tough shots. There's no secret recipe to beating them. We're not going to go in there and trick them. But we may be able to steal a few possessions here and there with a new set, or a new side out of bounds play or something like that. But for the most part, you're going to have to go in there and just man up.
That's an 8 o'clock tip on Wednesday night up in Reno. Straight ahead, we're going to introduce you to the newest member of the UNLV basketball coaching staff. He's got a big-time college basketball background, and he rocks the suits like no other. We have a profile of Joe Esposito just 2 minutes away as the RebZone rolls on.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
It takes a lot of people to put together a top-notch basketball program, and this year Joe Esposito joined Marvin Menzies' staff, bringing some pedigree and a little flash courtside.
If you've watched Runnin' Rebel games this season, you've probably seen the coach sitting by Marvin Menzies with the flashy suits and think he looks familiar. College basketball fans have seen him on the scene for years. His name is Joe Esposito, and he's in his first year as the special assistant to the head coach, an advisory position that the NCAA added a few years ago. Esposito has known Menzies for a long time and jumped at the chance to work with him.
I just have a great love for Marvin Menzies. I've known Marvin for 25 plus years. I actually coached some of the guys he had when he was at Santa Monica Junior College. I was rebuilding my program at Angelo State, and I got a chance to meet him. He was an assistant coach there at the time, and we just became friends from that point on.
Esposito was the head coach at Angelo State for 8 seasons, but fans recognize him as Tubby Smith's right-hand man for more than a decade at Minnesota, Texas Tech, and Memphis. His recruiting efforts have Texas Tech and Memphis among the top teams in the country right now. With his role at UNLV, Esposito is not allowed to recruit, a first for him in his college career.
It's been a challenge in some regard. I miss the recruiting. I used to love going on the road and recruiting.
Not being able to hit the road has allowed Esposito to fall in love with Las Vegas. It's a spot he's always wanted to land at, and he even interviewed for an assistant job as a young coach when Rolly Massimino was head coach at UNLV.
I really love Las Vegas. I think it's got a good charisma about it. I think the people are exciting, they're enthusiastic, they're energetic.
And he's taking advantage of experiencing the entertainment options on the Strip.
I'm at 26 shows. I saw a great Motown show the other night. I'm enjoying the shows and not recruiting. I'm free at night. I can't go to high school games. So that's been tough because I love basketball and I love watching kids play. I can only watch stuff on TV. So I have a lot of free nights. So my wife and I, we're empty nesters. Our kids are growing in college, and it gives us an opportunity to go to a lot of shows. So we're enjoying that.
But it really is all about basketball, which is the lifeblood for Esposito. He's always admired Menzies from afar, but has been impressed with Menzies' approach now that he's working under him.
I just think Marvin's a player's coach. I think that's where he excels. A phenomenal recruiter, maybe one of the hardest working recruiters as a head coach. Typically, the assistants do all the recruiting, but Marvin is hands-on with recruiting, and that's really impressive to me.
And despite some tough losses this season, Esposito believes there are good things ahead at UNLV.
Our program is headed in the right direction. Marvin's got their foundation built, and that's the most important thing, and now it's time to take it to the next level.
It's important for you to have somebody like him to bounce ideas off of who's been around the block.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that can come in and shut the door and say, hey, you good? All right, let me give you a couple thoughts. And I said, all right, got it, appreciate it. So we just got a great relationship, and it feels good to add that continuity to the staff.
One final break for us. We're coming back with the Runnin' Rebel Plays of the Week right after this.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
So we talked about Reno on Wednesday night, but on Saturday, final regular season home game, senior night with Boise State, and that's a big chance for people to come out and salute the seniors, a local in Noah Robotham, and somebody who came in Chris Clyburn to help rebuild.
my first recruit. So I think that's going to be a special night. I know Chris's mom is coming in town, and Noah's got all his family already here. So it'd be great to have a lot of fans come out and support those guys on their way out.
That'll be on Saturday night at the Thomas and Mack. If you want to watch Wednesday's game, that's an 8 o'clock tip against Reno. Good luck, Coach. We'll be up there with the team. We'll give you all the news from Reno on Tuesday and Wednesday night, and we'll break it all down next Sunday in the Reb Zone. Thanks for joining us for this one. We leave you tonight with the Runnin' Rebel Plays of the Week. Good night.
The Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show was presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.